Randolph High School art students are visiting the Museum of Modern Art in New York City.
Last Friday, Randolph's art students visited the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. The 95-year-old museum was the first museum dedicated exclusively to modern art. Students in AP Art History, AP 2D and 3D Art, as well as National Art Honor Society were invited on the trip. Art teacher Mrs. Beaver explains that the trip is benefiting the students in many ways.
For AP Art History, what really benefited my students is seeing the work that we're studying in person. Often the work is so much different in person than it is just looking at a textbook. For example, one of the pieces that I saw in person for the first time was Dali's Persistence of Memory, and it was so much smaller than I realized. For the other classes, AP 2 and 3D, for example, seeing work in person for them as well is massively helpful because it helps with their production of artwork. Seeing how Van Gogh laid down the paint in Starry Night might have inspired them to also have a more textured approach to their artwork.
Visiting students were allowed to roam the museum, visiting whichever exhibits they'd like. I also asked the students to share some highlights of the trip.
A highlight of our MoMa trip was obviously seeing all the amazing artwork, but specifically seeing the Starry Night. That was a really kind of once-in-a-lifetime thing we got to see. And also afterwards we walked around and we went into markets to get food, and we saw the windows displays for Christmas.
Highlights of the MoMA trip were seeing art that we usually wouldn't see if I go to a non-modern history art museum.
Well, my favorite part was probably seeing some Picasso pieces, some Andy Warhol pieces. Those were pretty cool. Salvatore Dali, those were cool. And then also seeing Fifth Street at the end of the trip.
The trip provided a unique opportunity for art students to see some of the world's best modern art.
This is Dane Fordahl reporting for RAM Studios.